What if one man's courage could topple an empire of fear? In December 2001, as the world reeled from 9/11s, a little-known Afghan leader named Hamid Karzai stood at the gates of Kandahar, the Taliban's spiritual stronghold. How did he, with a small band of fighters, end the Taliban's iron grip on Afghanistan? Stay tuned, because this untold story of bravery, betrayal, and a city's fall will leave you speechless. This is the story of the fall of Kandahar, a turning point in the war on terror. It's a tale of grit, sacrifice, and a moment that reshaped a nation. Let's dive in. Picture Afghanistan, October 2001. The Twin Towers have just fallen. The world's eyes are on this rugged, war-torn land. The Taliban, a brutal regime born in Kandahar's dusty streets, control most of the country. Their leader, Mullah Omar, rules from this city, a place they call the heart of their movement. But the U.S., fueled by grief and resolve, launches Operation Enduring Freedom. Airstrikes pound Taliban positions. The Northern Alliance pushes south, and in the shadows, a man named Hamid Karzai, a Pashtun tribal leader, merges with a dangerous mission to rally southern Afghanistan against the Taliban. Karzai wasn't a soldier. He was a scholar, a diplomat, a man who'd spent years in exile. But he carried a vision, a free Afghanistan. In late October, he slipped into Uruzgan province with just a handful of loyal fighters. No army, no tanks, just courage, and a satellite phone to call in U.S. support. Imagine the stakes. One wrong move, and he'd be hunted down by the Taliban's feared enforcers. The odds were impossible, yet Karzai pressed on, driven by a dream of a nation reborn. His heart pounded with every step through the treacherous mountains, knowing that betrayal lurked in every village, that his own tribesmen might turn him over for a bounty. But he spoke to them not as a conqueror, but as a brother, sharing stories of lost freedoms and stolen futures, igniting sparks of hope in eyes dulled by years of oppression. Before we continue, hit that like button if you're amazed by stories of underdogs defying the odds, and subscribe to join us for more epic history. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's next. Karzai's journey to Kandahar wasn't just a march, it was a gamble with history. The Taliban were no ragtag militia. They had thousands of fighters, heavy weapons, and a network of al-Qaeda allies. Kandahar, their birthplace, was a fortress. Mullah Omar's men patrolled its streets, enforcing brutal laws. Women were confined to their homes, shrouded in burqas. Music was silenced. Fear choked the air. Children grew up whispering, afraid of the whip's crack for the smallest infraction. Families torn apart by executions in the stadium, where soccer fields became graves. But Karzai had something the Taliban didn't: the trust of local tribes. In Tarin Kowt, a dusty town north of Kandahar, he began rallying Pashtun leaders. Picture it, candlelit meetings in mud-brick homes. Elders with calloused hands, listening as Karzai painted a picture of unity. "We are Pashtun," he'd say, his voice steady amid the tension. "This is our land, not theirs to terrorize." One by one, warriors joined men who'd lost sons to Taliban conscription, fathers desperate to protect their daughters. His force swelled from a dozen to hundreds, each addition a testament to shared pain and budding resolve. The emotional weight was crushing. Karzai thought of his own family in exile, the letters from home describing raids and disappearances. Every night, he lay under the stars, wondering if dawn would bring victory or death. U.S. Special Forces linked up, dropping in at remote sites like Camp Rhino, where Marines shared MREs and coordinates. The bond formed in those moments. Afghans and Americans, united against a common enemy, felt like fragile threads holding back chaos. Airstrikes roared overhead, shaking the earth, as Karzai's satphone guided bombs to Taliban bunkers. But victory came at a cost. In one ambush near Shawali Kowt, bullets tore through the air. A young fighter, barely 18, threw himself in front of Karzai, his body crumpling as he gasped, "For Afghanistan." Double quotes. Tears streamed down Karzai's face as he held the boy, vowing silently to make the sacrifice mean something. These weren't just battles. They were heart-wrenching reminders of what was at stake: lives, legacies, a people's soul. We're halfway through. Smash that share button if this story's gripping you, and comment below, what would you do against such odds? Let's keep going. As December dawned, the push intensified. Karzai allied with Gul Uga Shirzai, another tribal force, creating a pincer movement on Kandahar. The city loomed, its minarets silhouetted against bomb flashes. Taliban morale cracked. Deserters whispered of Mullah Omar's paranoia, his rants about divine protection failing. Al-Qaeda foreigners, with their foreign tongues and fanatic zeal, fled first, abandoning locals to face the storm. Karzai's strategy blended force with mercy. He broadcast messages via radio: lay down arms and live in peace. It worked on many. A commander named Mullah Naqib surrendered his garrison, his voice trembling over the phone as he spoke of weary fighters dreaming of home. Imagine the emotion. Brothers once divided by ideology, now embracing in dusty fields, tears mixing with relief, but not all yielded quietly. Snipers picked off scouts, IEDs claimed limbs and lives. One night, a convoy hit a mine. Screams echoed as medics rushed in, binding wounds under flashlight glow. Karzai knelt beside a dying ally, holding his hand, whispering prayers as blood soaked the sand. "We're so close," he urged, his own grief fueling the advance. By December 6th, the airport fell. U.S. jets pounded the last defenses, turning night into day with explosions. Shirzai's men stormed in, flags of freedom raised amid cheers. Kandahar's gates opened. Taliban leaders scattered Mullah Omar on a humble motorcycle, slipping into legend and exile. The city, once a prison, exhaled. Families rushed into streets, embracing strangers turned liberators. A mother lifted her burqa, her face illuminated by dawn, hugging her children freely for the first time. Elders wept at mosques, thanking Allah for deliverance. Karzai entered humbly, meeting survivors whose stories broke hearts, orphans, widows, men scarred by torture. He promised justice, schools, roads, a new dawn. But beneath the joy lurked sorrow. Rubble-strewn homes, graves of the fallen, a nation scarred but standing. This story's unreal, right? Hit subscribe and tap the bell so you never miss epic tales like this. Let's wrap up what happened next. The fall marked the Taliban's collapse, propelling Karzai to interim leadership. He navigated tribal councils, forging a fragile government amid cheers in Kabul. Yet shadows lingered. Mullah Omar's escape sowed seeds of resurgence. Al-Qaeda remnants plotted in caves. For Kandahar's people, markets buzzed again. Girls attended school. Music echoed faintly. But war's toll was profound. Shattered families rebuilding with trembling hands. Veterans haunted by ghosts. Karzai, thrust into power, felt the burden. Nights alone, pondering if peace could endure. His rise from exile to emblem of hope inspired millions. A reminder that one voice, amplified by courage, can echo through history. Years later, reflecting on 2001, survivors speak of that December with misty eyes, the fear yielding to fragile joy, the sacrifices that birthed possibility. Though the Taliban returned in 2021, that moment in Kandahar endures as a beacon. Ordinary people, driven by extraordinary heart, toppling tyrants. It teaches us resilience, the power of unity against darkness, the bittersweet cost of freedom. And that's the incredible story of the fall of Kandahar in 2001. How Hamid Karzai, against all odds, toppled the Taliban's heartland. If this moved you, drop a like, share it with a friend, and comment, what's the most inspiring history story you've heard? Subscribe for more untold tales from the past. Until next time, keep chasing history.